Welcome to Tuesday with the Heart Girl. And that's me. Shauna here coming to you live for our Tuesday live. Susan will be with you guys next week. She is going to be here without me because I will be on a trip next week. So you'll get to hear from each of our hearts, which is always, I think, a lot of fun for people to be able to tap into that and really see um, our personalities come out. So anyway, I'll jump into what I have for today because sometimes I just ramble. I don't know if you're like that, if you just start talking and things come out, but maybe that's what needed to come out. So this week, I want to talk about something that's super cool. And I think it's something that will be really helpful for everybody. And when I say super cool, I just mean like having the information is very helpful and transformative whenever we experience life. It's just so much more powerful when we understand why and where certain things come from. Um, and I'll talk more about that. So, we're going to talk about how our childhood experiences might be shaping the way that we still connect in our adult relationships. So in, peer relationships, same gender, different gender, romantic relationships, if you're dating or you're married, familial relationships, things like that. Even if you have adult children, how you connect with them. And so these are things that might be happening in your life, the adult to adult relationship. It could be like maybe you find yourself people pleasing. I've been there. Or maybe you shut down when conflict comes. Maybe you run away or you just freeze and become stoic or quiet. That's a way of shutting down. Maybe you give everything to others, but you really struggle to let people love you back. Oh, I've been there too. And I say all these things because a lot of these things I have experienced. And so when I talk about them, I have real experiences on how it feels being stuck in some of these patterns. And that's what they are. So I just want you to know you're not broken, you're patterned. And that's what we're going to unpack today. So here's the thing. None of us escape childhood without patterns. Nobody does. In childhood, that's exactly what's happening. From 0 to 7, you're in theta. So you're just absorbing everything in the space. So in the environment, in the atmosphere. And so depending on how you were raised or who was around you as a person that spoke into your life or was just took care of you, then you're going to come with some patterning, with some conditioning. And so it's not something that you can escape. It's not something that's your fault or you didn't do right. It's just the way that it is. But you don't just stay there. So some people, their parents were their primary caregivers. Some people, daycare was a primary caregiver for most of their early on experiences. And so those experiences shaped you. The stuff that gets wired into your nervous system and your beliefs comes from these early experiences. So we learn things like love has to be earned. Now, most of us don't have that down like that. We haven't, dialed it down that much, but maybe you got attention when you brought home good grades. Or if you behaved well, like perfectly, or if you were a good girl or a good boy, then you got attention or you got more attention. And now, as an adult, you might overachieve at work or in ministry or struggle to rest because it feels lazy or overgive in relationships, just hoping to feel chosen, just hoping that finally you'll be seen or finally you'll be loved or finally you'll be valued. Or maybe it's you have this mantra. Again, you may not know it's this. Don't be too much. Maybe you were told you were dramatic. Let that set in. Or sensitive. Or always too much. So now you hold back your real feelings to keep the peace. You downplay your needs. And you may even feel guilty when you want comfort or support. Or maybe you have to take care of everyone else to stay safe. And that would look like maybe you had grown up too fast. Maybe you were the oldest child of a large family, or a parent leaned on you emotionally, or you could have had trauma in your childhood, which would have caused you to grow up faster. Now you feel responsible for everyone else's moods. Maybe you struggled to say no without guilt. And you often end up being the rescuer or fixer in relationships. Does that sound like you? Couple more. Maybe you have this thought of my needs don't matter. So maybe you were overlooked in a busy household or told to stop being so selfish. Anybody? I was told that. Now you ignore your body until you're burnt out. You don't even know how to tap into that. And you just say, I'm fine, when you're really not. And sometimes you feel invisible, but you don't know how to change it. And then the last one that I have today is maybe connection isn't safe. Maybe love came with yelling, rejection, or inconsistency. Or maybe it was worse. Maybe it was something that you didn't want, like the connection was something you didn't want, like trauma. So it could have been like physical abuse or sexual abuse. And now you pull away when people get too close because it doesn't feel safe. You feel guarded even with God because you don't know who you can trust. Everything just feels really inconsistent, even today. And deep down, you struggle to trust that love will stay or that you're worthy of love. And so these little scripts don't just disappear when we grow up. They show up in our marriages, in our friendships, and even in our relationship with God. So I've shared this before, but I'll share a little bit of my story. So when I was 4 years old, my parents divorced, and I don't have any actual memory of this. I have some really sporadic, like pictures or popcorn kind of memories of things. But I do know that when I got to this place in a heart healing session, it resonated with my full being. So I believe it is truth. And I do know that some of the facts are true. Like when I was 4 years old, my parents divorced. I don't remember their relationship or, anything about that season. I don't really remember my dad at all. And I just know that from all what's been told to me is that it was a very traumatic experience. My mom and dad had a very tumultuous, I guess is the way you'd say it. Just like sometimes they were madly in love, and other times there was like fights, and sometimes they got physical. I know that they both had some type of addiction, whether it be drugs or alcohol. I know that my dad was a drug dealer at the time, and so that definitely played into it. So I had a lot of really inconsistent, scary, possibly traumatic things happening to me when I was super young. And then my parents divorced, and I never saw my dad again. So at 4 years old, he disappears. I don't know how much he was in my life before, how often he was at home. I don't know any of that. My mom is not alive anymore. She's actually been dead for like 20 years. So I don't have that information. So everything that I learned through my heart healing sessions is all about how it resonates with me and just things that I know factually. But I can imagine what a 4-year-old was feeling like when she, number one, was being raised in that environment and then gets removed from that environment and never sees her dad again. Now, I don't know how my relationship was with my dad. From what I understand, from what other people tell me, that my dad loved me and that he adored me, but I don't remember feeling that way. And I definitely never felt that way from that point on. When my parents divorced, like I said, my dad disappeared. But my mom quickly got into another relationship, which, was a pattern that she had. And when she did, she quickly kind of familyed up with this guy, and he became my stepdad. And so, right after that, moving away from dad and mom situation, we have a new man in the picture. And I was required to call him dad. So I don't know if that started from day one or when that started, but I always had to call him dad, even knowing that he wasn't my dad. He was my stepdad. So there's a lot of confusion. You could even just hear it as I'm saying it, that this is like stuff that sticks with us. These are patterns that stick with us. But because I wanted to be connected to a dad, I kind of considered myself a daddy's girl in the way that I latched on to the stepdad, which told me something about what I wanted with my dad. Not sure if I had that ever, but it's clues. Like it's clues that tells you something about who you are and what was going on within you as a little girl. And so there was a time, a short period of time where he kind of took the place of my dad. And there was, a special relationship that we had. He would take me to work. He was a cabinet builder. And so he had a shop and he would take me to work with him on specific days. I don't remember going every day, but I do remember going on some days. And that was filling a hole within me. But then what happened is he and my mom had children when I was 8 years old. I think I was actually 7 years old when she was born. And so that changed everything. And, I can't fully blame any person. Like and I'm not going to, but I'm just sharing like what that did to me. And when things shifted, I started to notice that I wasn't treated the same anymore. I wasn't as special. And he didn't really have the same patience for me and time for me. Like there was a new person that was taking up that space. And without realizing it, I picked up on a belief that I'm not enough, that I have to prove myself to be loved, and that no one truly will love me for me being who I am. I mean, my dad had left and I never saw him again. My mom joined forces with this new guy who then turned his back on me. And now she's got this new baby who's got all of her attention and his. And so, what did that look like later? So, later in life, as an adult, I became the achiever. I was the one who always had to have it together. I tried to have the best grades. I tried to be the best in sports. Everything I did, I tried to be the achiever. I tried to be the winner. I tried to be the best. And I worked really hard at it until it didn't work anymore. I also pushed through pain because slowing down didn't feel safe. If I slowed down, I was going to be way behind everybody else because I already had to try harder. I already had to push forth and do more. If I slowed down, then I was definitely going to be left behind and there was not going to be any space for me to be valued or loved. And in relationships, I overgave, especially in the beginning, because I wanted to be chosen. I wanted them to see me as special, as different from everybody else. So I would do whatever it took to get their attention. And then after a while, because I didn't want to keep that up, I began to get bored or, disconnected. And so I would move on. Like my mind, my heart would move on. And you can see, like, I was never able to show up in those relationships as me because I didn't trust that. And here's the kicker, I didn't even know it was a pattern. And that's probably like I thought it was just me. And you may think that too. When I was reading those different things earlier about, belief systems that you have, about my needs don't matter, or I have to take care of everyone else to be safe, or don't be too much, or love has to be earned. All of those are patterns that we have picked up on through the conditioning of childhood. And you can see, I have not talked about any specific trauma. Now, my childhood was more traumatic than the average person, but it wasn't more traumatic than most people. And so, there were things that happened, but I don't remember ever being like physically abused, sexually abused. Verbal abuse came later in life. And I do remember that, but I was much older. But when I was super young, I don't feel any of that. But that wasn't me. I was in a survival strategy. So my little girl self built the survival strategy to make sure that she felt secure. And I just kept living in that same pattern until I realized it was a pattern. And it took me 40 years to figure that out, because I'm 49 now. I'll be 50 next month. I'm actually embracing it because I feel really great in my body and in my emotions. But back to like it took me 40 years. I lived in this for 40 years before I realized it was a pattern. So let me break down these patterns and how they look like in adult life. So if you learn that love has to be earned, you might consistently hustle. Is that you? Do you feel like you have to consistently hustle, or you overwork, or you give more than you get? Is that anybody out there? And what if you learned that you can't be too much, like don't be too much, make sure you probably hold back in relationships. You may fear rejection if you're fully present, or if you fully reveal yourself. And if you learn to have to take care of everyone else, you might feel exhausted from always being the one who has to show up, who never gets to say no, who never gets to take a day off, who never gets to even focus on how they feel. And if you learn my needs don't matter, you may silently burn out. You may just check out. You may just feel so exhausted, feel like you're stuck in a state of overwhelm. And you may wonder why no one notices. You may wonder why no one can tell that you are so burnt out, that you're so exhausted, that you're so overwhelmed. And if you learn connection isn't safe, you probably avoid intimacy, even though you deeply crave it, because it's scary. You don't know if the people that you're in relationship with today are going to do to you or treat you in the way that you were treated when you were a child. You're not aware of these patterns. You're not aware that there's a part of you that's connected to the past and reliving it in the present, wanting to get it right, but so afraid. And so we get stuck in these patterns. And if one of these sounds familiar, hey, drop it in the comments. Like, yeah, that's me. And if it's too embarrassing, or you just feel like you don't want to be outed, that's fine. I get it. Send us a message. Let us connect with you and help you walk this out and at least feel seen. And that's the number one need I think we need when we're going through this stuff alone, because that's how we're choosing to do it, because we're afraid to be seen, is if we could just know that we're not alone. Like, I'm not the only one that experiences. And the good news is that patterns are not your destiny. You don't have to stay here. Like, these are just old strategies your younger self created to survive. That's what these are. And you don't have to continue to live in them. You can choose a different way. And that's why, it's so powerful to understand that the brain is neuroplastic. Like, it molds and shapes based on the experiences that you have and the way that you train it. Our brain is really just like a computer. And when you put software on a computer, then it begins to run these patterns or systems in the background. And that's what your brain does. So we just need to update our software. We need to update what we know about ourselves, what we know about others, and what we know about the world, and really check in on some of these belief systems. Healing is about noticing first. Begin to notice. So if any of these resonated with you, you're like, yes, that's totally me. And you can begin to notice them. So you just begin to notice them, and then you want to honor them, and then teach your body and heart a new way to connect. And so here's a simple 3-step practice you can try. It's really easy. So number 1, you're going to notice the trigger. Next time you catch yourself overgiving or pulling away or shutting down, any of those things that I mentioned before, or feeling like love has to be earned, and so you're just constantly giving and not even checking in with yourself, you'll catch these now that you've become aware of them. So when you do, just pause. Just notice it. You just want to notice it. No emotion attached to it. So don't judge it. Don't shame it. Don't any of the negative stuff. Like, don't beat it into submission. Don't tell yourself you're wrong. Don't say, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing this again. Just notice it. And then ask your heart something. What am I believing about myself right now? And just simply listen. Maybe it's something kind of like, usually, like, I'm not safe, or I'll be rejected, or I'm not enough. No matter how hard I try, I'm just never enough. Now, it doesn't mean that it's exactly those three things, but it's usually something to that degree. And then what you can do once you've kind of gotten like what it is, and it's going to be something really simple, is think about a 4-year-old, how they're going to talk. It's going to be something really simple, maybe 3 words. Like it's not going to be a long sentence. So picture Jesus looking right at you. And this is where I want you to just imagine it. Don't have to feel it, just imagine it. You can close your eyes. And I like to put my hand on my heart because that actually brings me into alignment with my heart space. And when you do that, you then become like your breathing changes. You become one with your heart. Just kind of get your heart in attention and get you into that space. So if you close your eyes and put your hand on your heart and just take a deep breath in and just say, Jesus, what do you want me to know about how you see me in relationships? If you feel like nothing's coming, then you're just going to let him speak in your imagination. Yes. Let him speak the opposite of what it is that came up. So if I'm not safe came up, then you're going to close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. You're going to take a deep breath in. And you're going to say, Jesus, I don't feel like I'm safe. And then you're going to imagine Jesus saying back to you, you're safe with me. I've got you. And it's so powerful when we step into these imagination exercises because what we're doing is rewiring our brain. Something as simple as that, watching it. So notice it, become aware. So we're going to see what it is that I'm feeling, and then we're going to shift it and rewire. It's what happens. Simple, simple, simple. And you may think, oh, I'm just imagining it. But your brain does some amazing things when we step into our imagination space because it begins to see what's there. Like we don't really see through these eyeballs. Like our brain is catching all this stuff, but it's not seeing it the way we see it. It's information that gets put into the brain. And so when you're imagining these, having this imagination experience, what you're doing is you're rewiring the brain because the brain is getting new information. The brain is hearing the truth so that it can then put in, all the calculations of all the experiences you had, and then it can help you create this new belief system. Now, it's not going to be one and done. This is a practice. And so you want to practice this as often as these things come up, as often as you're triggered. So for me, once I started doing this kind of work, that's when things started shifting. But I had to continue to do it. Like if I have an emotion or a thought come up, then I hold space for that. Now, I've learned to do this in a very fast way, but I'm stepping into a very simple step that you can do. And then if things come up that you need help with, hey, that is what we're here for. Our program, our Stress Less, Live More program is all about helping you process through setting boundaries, stop over functioning, learn how to rest without feeling like you have to earn it. When I learned how to do all these things, my marriage deepened, my friendships felt safer. And most of all, I experienced God's love in a way that was no longer based on performance. It was based on his daughter, me. It was based on being his daughter. It wasn't overnight, but it is possible. And if it's possible for me, I know it's possible for you. So if you recognize yourself in this, maybe you're exhausted and always giving, or you feel disconnected in your relationships, please hear me. It's not because you're broken. It's because you've been living out of old patterns, and patterns can be healed. And that's exactly what we help women do in our program, and men too. We have a lot of men that go through it. Now, yes, we focus on women because that's what we are, but we help men as well. And I want to let you know that you will identify these deep heart patterns, release lies, and experience truth that sets you free in this program. And if that resonates with you, hey, drop me a message or put a heart in the chat, or whatever it is to get to, to get to me, because I would love to step into this space with you. I want you to know that no matter what you're feeling right now, the truth is that you are chosen, you are safe, and you are worthy of love without having to earn it. I want to bless you if you made it to the end of this conversation. It means that you really have been connected to what it is that I'm saying. And I'd love to have a chat with you. I offer free, no obligation discovery calls where you pop in with me or Susan, and we just share with you like the program and really get to know where you're at and what it is that you're needing and letting you know how we can help you. If we can't help you, we'll tell you. And then we'll let you know what the investment is. It's definitely an investment in you, in time and finances. And so I want you to know that you're worth that. And that's not about the money, but it is about the investing in you to begin to see that you're important, you're valuable, and you're worth it. And so I hope to see you on one of those calls soon. And if not, Susan will be here next week where she'll be bringing you just an amazing talk about whatever's on her heart for the day. I love you all. Have a fabulous week, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.